Chloe, hi, how are you doing?
I'm well after the emergency shutdown last week. I'm doing okay. Systems rebooted. All is well.
All is not
I
all is well.
I haven't, but the problem is, I haven't heard from Molch-R. So
I've got a bit of bad news about Mike. Um, he left his skull at my house last week. I don't know how to get back to him.
I gotta tell you, I genuinely thought it would still have the tash, like like.
I love the Civil War.
Skeleton Finder General.
This is In Orbit every Wednesday.
Get 2000 AD now. Get.
Alright, fang earthlets, and welcome back to the 2000 AD thrillcast. There was a slight issue last week. We seem to have got that resolved with the Thrill Receptors, and we are back with a very special guest to talk about a very special topic. Oli Davis is here. He is the co-host of the WrestleTalk podcast, which covers all kinds of sports entertainment and wrestling, I'm told. Ollie, welcome to the Thrillcast.
Thanks for having me, and apologies to everyone who doesn't like wrestling, doesn't know who I am. When I listen to podcasts on a regular basis, I get so annoyed when they deviate from the usual format. So, yeah, here I am.
And so you decided to become everything you hate.
I know that is exactly it. Well, that's how much I love 2000 AD.
Oh, see, that's why we've got you on as well, because on the show a few weeks ago, I think it was, you had a story to tell to your co-hosts. What happened to you recently, Ollie?
Oh, I haven't got the issue to hand. I've got literally every other issue. I've got there's the most recent one. I've even this is great for an audio medium, but it is on YouTube. Look, here's my collected progs.
Oh, there's a
I
frill
feel like I've got to
containment
prove
binder.
myself
Very
to
nice.
the.
That's it. Did you make that yourself?
No, this is in the 2000 AD shop.
Is it really?
Yeah, you get the cool ring binders.
It's
That's really
They've got a
cool.
really weird
I've never seen those
binding
before.
system.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's like string binding. You see that at the top? So you just put it through the middle of every comic.
Man, that's awesome. Sorry. Go on.
There's an endorsement.
So yeah, I, as a 37-year-old man, wrote in a letter to my favorite comic, and it got published, and it just made me feel like, I guess, a 14-year-old boy again. I feel like a 14-year-old boy a lot though, because I do watch wrestling for a living, and
That's fair.
I sort of shared it on the podcast. Luke, my co-host, is very sort of into the same stuff. He's not a 2000 AD fan, but he knows an absurd amount about Sonic the Hedgehog comics, the British ones from the 90s. So
Yes.
he knew a lot of the sort of style of verbiage that you have to talk to British comics in. The GGC, Borak Thang.
Yeah,
Sounds like
I
fun
wish I'm
clothes.
still learning myself.
Hmm.
So Ollie, what prompted you to write into to Farg? What did you
Well,
want to say to him?
it was actually because someone had a letter that said, "Oh, there hasn't been a letter page recently," and Tharg said, "We can't publish the letters if there's not enough letters." And that blew my mind. I thought, if anything, you'd have too many letters. So I thought I'd represent. I was one of the classic long time listener, first time caller people. So I sent in a letter.
And Farg published it.
Yeah, he did. He did.
What a benevolent editor he is.
You should just
Top.
you just keep writing letters. Just become that guy that keeps showing up in the letters page. You want there's not enough of them. I will fix that single-handedly.
I'll get a column by default in 2000 AD.
Yeah, see?
Strike up a
That's
rapport with Tharg.
yeah, just the long grift.
And Farg, what's your favorite wrestler? Were you there during the Attitude Era, or were you there during the Ruthless Aggression era? What do you like? I mean, Farg, I don't know if he's a big wrestling fan. I've got to say, wrestling has not appeared very often in the Galaxy's Greatest comic, to my knowledge. Chloe, I'll turn to you. I think wrestling has appeared once that I can think of. And that was, I think it's Big Nessie, who showed up in Invasion, who is a
Oh,
giant Scottish wrestler who
yeah.
helps Bill Savage back in the 1970s to take on the Volgans.
And that's like what that's a deep cut, Steve. Like like, it's a deep cut. But, yeah, I like, in loosely preparing for this, I could not for the life of me think of other instances of, like, wrestling in the way that it's really big in pop culture. I could not think of any other instances. I couldn't even think of that, so well done, of, wrestling showing up in 2000 AD. So I'm really quite fascinated to see where this podcast ends up going in the next half hour.
Well, I think that 2000 AD, what I've always loved about it is quite unashamedly weirdly British.
Mhm.
It doesn't, it almost rejects the American tropes. And when it does embrace one, it's heavily satirical, like Judge Dredd. So there's just not been a British mainstream wrestling tradition for, well, since probably the 70s, 80s, with World of Sport on ITV back then. And then the Americans came in and effectively Starbucksed our wrestling industry and
We're
got rid
good
of
at
all
that.
the lovely independent promotions.
In yeah, we had Giant Haystacks from the
Mm.
70s. I know him, but apart from that, there's this big gap, isn't there, between the 1970s and today. And if you want to get into wrestling, it's the American product that you need to be paying attention to, I suppose. There isn't a British mainstream scene. I know there's a local scene across every different county, got a different local scene, but for the most part, wrestling is just not a thing here, I suppose.
No,
I'm
not on
sorry,
a
what was
mainstream
that
level.
person's name? The
The
wrestler?
wrestler.
Yeah.
Giant Haystacks.
God, that's so good. Holy shit, that's fabulous. Like,
He
if the names
feuded.
are that good, I'm gonna need to hear more, 'cause, like,
Oh, they're
that
coming.
that's beautiful.
His main feud was with a guy called Big Daddy. And Big Daddy would rile up the crowd by chanting, "Easy, easy."
Okay, so what's funny is I was like, I don't know anything about wrestling, and now I'm gonna have to start looking into, like, specifically British wrestling just
So
based on the names alone.
so I did kind of blame the sort of wind down of British wrestling on the Americans. It's also our fault because Big Daddy and Giant Haystacks were not athletic men. They were just very large lorry drivers who
Hell yeah.
inexplicably draw loads of money. But that came at the expense of all the very good wrestlers at that time.
Don't need them. Just fat dudes
Who
driving
needs
trucks
technique?
wrestling?
This guy's the shape of a fridge.
All we have is angry buff dudes. You guys have fat truck drivers throwing themselves around?
Yeah, in the
Sweet
70s and 80s.
Jesus.
Yeah.
It was a better time
Mm.
for all of us.
I wasn't
It-
alive.
I mean, Ollie, how did you get into wrestling with it not being a thing in Britain so much? Was it, I'm going to say, we're about the same age. Was it around Channel 4,
Uh-oh.
midnight? Was it
Yeah.
watching the replays of WWF?
Yeah, pretty much. We're all the same age. Everyone I know got into it at the same time, and it's if you were a teenage boy, usually between the years 97 and 2002, roughly, you were exposed to that Attitude Era. So that's an unprecedented time where so many wrestling stars were made, like The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker, Kane. But they were also allowed to just do really awful things. A lot of things that would be cancelable now. But at the time, that was really exciting. With like the Jerry Springer show mentality in that era. But yeah, it was that. It was just through I think watching Soccer AM on Sky One, and then I just sat around and watched the next thing that came on the telly, and it was SmackDown every
Mm.
Saturday. I just slowly got into wrestling that way. But then I did most normal people do have a break of wrestling fandom when they hit about the age of 15. and discover going out and drinking. So I had that break, as all the normal people do. Have you liked wrestling forever, Steve?
No, I had the break.
You had the
Exact
break.
same
See,
break.
you had the
Yeah.
break because
Yeah.
you've got to go out and be a normal person for a bit. But then, yeah, got back into it at uni about 3-4 years later.
And
Because
how
that's
does
when you learn that you can be a total dork and drink at the same time, right?
Exactly. Very astute. Yeah.
that's when you discover drinking and watching wrestling at the same time?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you can just all go into someone's dorm room and watch the best of TNA 2006.
What else are you gonna do at 2 o'clock in the morning? Yeah. And was that the same for you with comics? Was comics before wrestling, after wrestling, or was there a break in comics for you?
No, I always flirted with comics, but it was really inaccessible. You know, it was too expensive for me as a kid. There was just one Forbidden Planet in Dartford where I lived, which had just opened up and I think shut down pretty quickly. How did you get into comics, Steve? Because if you're same
Hmm.
age, but also in Britain.
Well, my story was at university. I did an English degree. When you do an English degree, you've got nothing to do all week because
Mhm.
they don't teach you anything, and you have one seminar a week. So I started reading what was around me, and comics were around me. So I got into comics from there. So I had that gap where I dropped wrestling, started on comics, then wrestling came back
Oh.
afterwards.
And what's it like in America, Chloe?
I'm getting
Are they
interviewed,
just like,
Chloe.
do you just get it all the time from being a kid with comics?
Oh, no, not at least not when I was growing up. Like it was, up and when you're a kid and you're into it, it's fine. But then again, everybody gets the break, right? Where, maybe around 13, 14, somewhere in there, everybody's like, oh, well, at least when I was growing up, it was the like, you're a total dork, you're a big nerd, you're gonna get beat up and shoved into lockers and stuff like that if you're that kind of nerd. But I just didn't care. So, yeah, I've been kind of into comics since I was, knee high to a grasshopper, and yeah, that's it. Like, but I wouldn't say that you got bombarded with it. At least in the '90s, with the indie comic scene, yes, but not. I don't not like it is now. Like I assume that most kids growing. I have a 13-year-old, and like he's constantly bombarded with like you know, Marvel movies and superhero themed stuff and all the time. So, no, unfortunately, the American experience was not like the most exciting thing in the world. But you did get called a big dork all the time, which is fine.
But that probably doesn't happen now, right? Because
No,
Marvel's popular and
no, because
superhero
being a
movies are
nerd's
the dominant
cool,
genre. Yeah.
socially
Mm.
acceptable.
But
I
you
mean,
never had
wrestling
the
is kind of
break.
cool now. Wrestling
Yeah,
has kind of become the mainstream.
I
With The
feel
Rock
like
taking on Hollywood and John Cena now getting to Hollywood, Batista doing
Mm.
actual movies. You know,
oh, Batista doing such a good job.
He's a
I just
genuinely
love
good
him.
character actor, isn't he?
Yeah, he's great. He does a great job. I'm actually kind of thrilled outside of maybe The Rock, but then again, I think he's just who he is as a person, and then he's in that same person in every movie. Uh, Outside of that, it seems like all the wrestlers that are kind of moving into Hollywood, they're doing the damn thing.
Well,
Like I
they come with a built-in audience. If it's an action star
Yeah.
thing, they look the part. They can do a lot of their own fight scenes and stunts. I always thought The Rock, because of course he did play Black Adam, didn't he?
Mhm.
I really felt like he never played Black Adam. He was just twisting it to fit The Rock,
Yeah,
and
he
The
was just
Rock
The
was
Rock.
Scorpion King.
The Scorpion King was a good film, though. I'll still stand by that. My
Oh,
12-year-old
No, it wasn't.
brain, my 12-year-old brain loved that film.
oh,
But yeah,
sweet.
I got into comics just after uni. I was always trying to read graphic novels. Everyone had Sin City at uni and stuff like
Oh,
that.
sure.
And I think I weirdly got given Mark Miller's Ultimates, but like 3 volumes in as a birthday present once, just because
Mhm.
some person found it. So I knew there was this bigger world, but I didn't really have the internet to learn everything or YouTube videos and podcasts. So I had to wait for a jumping on point. And when I used to work for 4 Music in Oxford Street, And of course, that's quite close to the Big Forbidden Planet in London. But Gosh, which is a fantastic independent comic store, opened in Soho. So I could go down there, get a Subway for lunch, and then just go into Gosh at the exact same time the new 52 launched, which was just like,
Uh,
I could just
Oh
jump on.
yeah.
Everything was reset. A lot of people I've read don't like the new 52 now, but it was my first thing. It's like how some people weirdly like the prequel films of Star Wars because they were idiot kids when they first watched it. But yeah, for me it was 52. That's when I picked up 2000 AD, which was a very similar time to when the Trinity storyline started. No,
Oh,
Trifecta, sorry.
Trifecta. Yeah.
Getting my threes mixed up with DC in 2000 AD there. And that blew my mind. Still to this day, apart from like the 2-page spread in the what's her name who got when she got shot, I guess spoiler, in the Judge Dredd strip last
Oh,
year.
straight into the spoilers. Yeah. We can say Maitland, Judge
Maitland,
Maitland. Yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
Yeah, those formically, those are the two like biggest spit takes I've ever had
Mm.
reading comics.
Oh, this is where I think 2000 AD really fits into the wrestling mindset because wrestling is this kind of like long running weekly soap opera drama, sports, entertainment, wrestling, all sorts of things mixed into one. And comics has got the exact same sort of thing going on. There's always different storylines running for a long periods of time. Things vanish and then get paid off later. So like when you see something like the Maitland story, which came and went and came and went, and then came back and delivered that, it was a bit like you see with wrestling where you've got for example, the recent storyline with Cody Rhodes, where he was trying to finish his story by winning the big match at WrestleMania, which took him 2 years to do. That's a long investment to put in there. But if you're a comics reader, I think maybe you're kind of inclined to have that sort of long term storytelling pay off
mm,
for you.
You could even argue Cody's triumph at WrestleMania 41, no 40, sorry, was actually the result of a 40-year storyline because his father, Dusty Rhodes, tried to win that championship belt in the late 70s or early 80s, didn't actually win it. So Cody was trying to win that belt this time. Yeah, but I agree. It's not just weekly or monthly stories. That's actually another. Sorry, I'm jumping around. That's another
No, it's
reason I
fine.
like 2000 AD because it is a weekly strip, really. Whereas the American comics, it's a month, and
mhm.
I forget what happens. I never
Yeah.
forget what
Hmm.
happens when I pick up the next 2000 AD. But wrestling's similar. It never takes a week off, even in the pandemic, when it really should have, because people were in very close contact. But it was an essential business, apparently. Um, that it goes weekly forever, and it's all part of one coherent law. So
Mhm.
there's stuff in Judge Dredd because I guess that's the only continuous one, isn't it? That's in every issue.
Yeah.
I never lived through Chaos Day. I've never gone back and read Chaos Day, but I feel the effects of it all the time in Judge Dredd.
Mhm.
Yeah. And you get the same kind of thing in wrestling where a wrestler will make a choice in 1999 or something, and it will impact wrestling for the next 20 years in quite subtle ways. And
Mm.
every time a wrestler tries to do the same thing, they'll go, "Oh, remember that thing 20 years ago? It's back." That
The
memory, that
echo.
long-term memory is there. The echo, yeah.
A really good example of that recently is Seth Rollins used to be in a faction called the Shield with Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose. And that was 2013 or 14. 2014 they broke up, and that was Seth turning on his brothers with a steel chair. To this day, that story is still having ripple effects. I will say though, it's when it's good that you get this stuff because so often things get dropped or forgotten about or because they do riff more with the crowd in the moment and week to week. If something's not working, it might just get pushed to one side. If a sponsor doesn't like something, it will just get dropped.
Mm.
Um, I feel like Dread has a much tighter grasp of its lore than wrestling does. But wrestling will tell you it's always really well planned out. When I imagine a lot of it is very last minute decisions.
I
You get a
kind
bit of
of
that feeling. Oh, go on, Chloe. Sorry.
well, I kind of wanted to ask because there's not been so much wrestling in 2000 AD. I mean, one example that God between the two of us, that's the only one that I like can possibly think of. But like, how would you how would you adapt wrestling for a 2000 AD story? Because there's such a rich history of future sports. Love it. But how do you adapt something like wrestling to the sports comics, like particularly British sports comics and particularly future British sports comics? How how would you make that work as a concept?
I guess you'd lean into the sort of aesthetics and style rather than the idea this is all predetermined. So you could stage a big showy wrestling match in the future with robots or giant mechs or people on loads
Always
of
comes back to
steroids.
robots.
But they can have that battle. I guess you just then wouldn't cut behind the scenes and go, "Oh yeah, so here you're getting paid off." I mean, you could do that, and you could just do a future, yeah, like he's a wrestler, but he's also a robot, and he's in the future, and he's got all the same tribulations as a current day wrestler, where he doesn't want to lose this match because that will affect his paycheck, but he needs to lose because that's the story the promoter's telling. And you just, you slap a big dystopian world around it. Isn't that
You
what you always
do.
do?
Yeah,
In
that's
space or a dystopian world?
the winning formula. I was thinking that Strontium Dog actually would lend itself really well to
Mm.
wrestling because it's like you already have the torso from Newcastle. That could be a wrestler easily.
There,
Like,
there is there is a wrestler who could be called that currently, who's called Pac, and he is from Newcastle, and he is all chest. So
see,
I
it's
think he's
kind of
-5 body fat, like percent-wise.
that man has not seen a carb in 10 years.
No.
He is astonishing to look at. Um,
well, now I've gotta look it up.
oh yeah.
Mm.
I always liked the behind the scenes of the wrestling. That was that fun part for me. Like the wrestling when I was a kid was fun, but it was more about these characters doing very strange things, getting into weird situations, and finding reasons to establish why they needed to have a fight. Which again is a very comicsy thing, isn't it? But
Mm.
I remember there was two wrestlers. There was a wrestler called Chris Jericho who was fighting a wrestler called Kane, who is the big red machine, of course. He is the devil's favorite demon, and it also they'd run out of ideas, I think, at this point, because Jericho walks around a corner, knocks into Kane, and drops some coffee on him. And he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. I hope that coffee didn't burn you." Now, Kane, obviously, his brother had burnt down the family home a few years ago and killed the parents. So he's a bit touchy about the idea of burns. So then they go off and have a fight for 3 months. That is, for me, the core of what wrestling is about. It's all about stupid reasons to have a fight.
But see, that's a beautiful reason to have a fight. That's childhood trauma that Chris Jericho is bullying poor monster Kane behind the scenes. It's not about the coffee. It's never just about the coffee.
I immediately just jumped to this just sounds like some Real Housewives shit. Like, it just seems like the reality TV of, like, any
Mm,
excuse to play to the drama to the camera, darling. Like,
It's a soap opera. That's what wrestling
right.
is. I
yeah.
guess that's another big similarity between comics and wrestling is you want those cliffhangers. You want not just like every episode, but every little match or storyline throughout the 2-hour show to have something that makes you want to tune in next week to see what happens next.
Mm.
Well, it's kind of built into the comics world because, I mean, you've got what is it? You've got the heroes and the heels, is that what it is?
Yeah, faces, baby faces and heels.
Faces.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have the terminology. I knew one word though, so I'll take it. But
Mm.
it's like but it seems like naturally built in to, like, lend itself to a lot of the same storytelling that you would get, and I know there's been some professional wrestling comics published through IDW, I
Mm.
think. And there have been some actual wrestlers who are, putting out their own comics now and stuff. But yeah, I'm kind of fascinated as to why that's not a wider thing, considering that the fandom is so big still.
Well, actually, I think yeah, late last week, as we're recording this, DC announced a proper crossover with AEW, who are they're like you've got WWE, they're the big one, and then AEW, the much better, slightly smaller version, who tell like more adult stories. But AEW is broadcast on essentially a Warner Bros. Discovery owned channel, and they've done a bit of corporate synergy
Ooh.
because you can have yeah, I don't know what the storyline's going to entail or that if it's a one-off issue, but they've had a few wrestlers in kind of backup strips over the last couple of years in DC. And there's so many wrestlers, like you said, who really love comics. And it is, I've always thought you've got two kinds of wrestling fans. You've got the people who like sport, who are approaching it from that sort of perspective, and then you've got the people who like comics and movies and go in it more from a character storyline perspective. And with those sorts of wrestlers like Christopher Daniels and Rey Mysterio often wears like superhero inspired garb in his costume. That they really like wrestling.
Mm.
So it's been done, but yeah, it doesn't cross over as much as you'd think.
There was one of the most famous wrestlers at the moment is Swerve Strickland, who is a wrestler for AEW, who came out dressed as Mr. Terrific for his most recent match. There's a lot of crossover going on, I think, between DC and AEW at the moment. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
they've because of the Warner Bros. Connection, there's been a few very tortured.
It's all IP, baby.
Yeah, yeah.
Like-
There was when Shazam: Fury of the Gods came out. That goddamn film just took over Dynamite, which is the weekly AEW show, for like 3 weeks, which became a bit of a meme.
there's quite a lot of wrestlers who I think would fit quite nicely into comics. As I say, I keep turning back to AEW, but the current women's champion is kind of an alien. I think that's part of her story is that she is technically an alien, and she has won the title after beating a woman who is a Sunset Boulevard fading 1940s film star who is always shown in black and white only. I'm saying
That's
this to
not.
try and get Chloe interested as I talk about it.
You've also got
I'm bringing you in to wrestling world.
the Triangle of Madness as well. Two creepy shining like sisters and a woman who walks around like a tarantula.
You are actually selling me on this.
Honestly, check out an episode of Dynamite.
I'm gonna have to because this all sounds great.
Yeah.
Mm.
There's a cowboy. The
There's
current
what?
AEW champion, the men's champion, is Hangman Page, and he's like the sheriff in town.
If you cross him, he will hang you over the ropes. These are
Ah!
important things for you to know.
It sounds goofy,
Yeah.
but it's really, really cool and serious.
Well, that's 2000 AD, isn't it, as well? You
Yes.
Well,
know?
that's kind of what's so fun is like, and that's I guess where the real crossover is. It's like I've never really been into wrestling. I have a very cursory knowledge of it, having grown up with a lot of male friends, in the '90s and stuff like that. But like it's just not something that I've ever gotten into. I used to go to a friend ran the Lucha Libre Wrestling Federation in Richmond, Virginia, and I used to go to those, and that was super fun. But yeah, I never got invested. But now you're telling me like all of these shticks that people have, and I'm like, that does sound like some 2000 AD stuff. It sounds like these overly, like overly fantastic, absurd stories. So yeah, I mean, I'm in. I'm in. You've sold me, and now I've got to actually look into it. Oh no, another hobby. Like,
And that's the key of 2000 AD, I think, is the sort of it would be so corny if it wasn't so cool. There's characters who are
corny is
called.
cool, Steve.
Oh yeah,
Corny
that's
is
what I mean.
cool.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that's the thing I've got to start learning is corny is the new cool. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you see, characters of 2000 AD and you think, oh, characters like Strontium Dog, Shakara, Slain the Barbarian. These are strange names, but you read them and you get pulled in so quick, so much more quickly than you expect to be. And I think it's the same with wrestling. It all
Mm.
sounds insane and bonkers, but once you're in it, you're really in it.
Yeah, and then you get people, like, suplexing each other into stuff, and I'm also, like, in theory, on board with that.
That's probably where wrestling has appeared in 2000 AD more. There's got to be a lot of like in a fight scene, just a
The
suplex
moves.
or a little chokehold, choke
Oh,
slams. I'm
sure.
gonna look out more for those.
Mm.
So,
There's some,
technically,
oh, yeah, go
we've
on.
only proven that wrestling does very much exist in 2018. Just not in the way you expect it.
For now, anyway. We'll
For
see.
now.
If we come back in a year's time and suddenly a bunch of Lucha Libre people start attacking Judge Dredd, then we'll know where it started.
Yeah, please, Rob Williams, if you're listening, and Henry Flint, please draw that for us. That'd be great.
Henry Flint drawing someone doing a Hurricane Rana would be probably the ideal of 2000 AD. I think that'd be the best issue I've read.
Or you could just a sort of masked bad guy luchador style character in a suit. I know it sounds quite Bane like, but DC took Judge Death, so we're allowed to say that.
Probably not, but we
The
have now.
Batman Who Laughs is definitely Judge Death.
2000 has no comment on such a thought.
I just saw he's coming back. Well, not he's got a special in 2 weeks. Judge
Yeah,
Death Judge Death mega special.
Mhm.
yeah.
What's that going to entail?
A lot of carnage.
We'll never tell. Ooh.
You'll just have to tune in to find out.
That's right.
Ollie, we are coming up on time, I'm told by Molch-R, his spiritual voice in my head. So we'll have to wrap in a moment. But before we start recording, you were talking to us about a novella, I believe, that you've written. And
Oh,
I wanted
yes,
to
yeah.
ask if you could tell us a bit more about that.
Oh, that's very kind to let me plug it. It's just here. Look, it's right here.
Oh, handy.
By the 2000 AD copy. Yeah, I wrote a novella. It got published. It came out about a month ago. I'm not very good at selling these bits. I did a better job selling your Judge Death mega special. It's a satirical science fiction book about the manosphere and how sort of bad ideas can spread unfortunately quickly via YouTube. So no connection to me or anything I do, of course.
Nothing you've experienced, I'm sure. No.
But yeah. If you're a fan of Black Mirror, then this book is for you. Says Adam Pearson, the star of Hollywood movie A Different Man. Wow, just one of the quotes.
One of many, I'm sure.
What is the name of the book?
Oh yes, I should say that, shouldn't I? It's Here Rational. So it's a nightmare for actually spelling that into a SEO search engine. But it's the word here, like to listen, and then the word rational. It's one word, and the idea is if you say it out loud, it sounds like irrational. But yeah, I should have probably chosen a more easily Googleable name. But also, if you go over to olidavis.com, I had to set that up as well, which was ego death. You can subscribe to my newsletter, which I've done nothing for yet, but apparently that's what you got to do in the biz.
Sell the brand, Ollie. Come on.
Yes, yeah. There'll be great new pieces of writing that you can get right now. Do
There you
that.
go.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And Ollie, where can we find you elsewhere on Tinternet?
Oh yeah, on YouTube, WrestleTalk is where me and Luke talk professional wrestling, and in a goofy way. And then we've also got a channel called Cutscene, where we have a series called Worst Movie Ever, which is probably more applicable because we review terrible superhero movies. We're trying to find the worst superhero movie, which is currently Batman v Superman, because it's crap.
Strong
Suicide
choice.
Squad, it went in at number 2 last month. The David Ayer one.
What have we got coming up next on the list?
Oh, next is The Flash. That's what's coming out
Oh,
this.
God.
Yeah, buddy.
It's no fun reviewing good things.
It's true. A hack job is always better.
Yeah, you want a hack job with a tortured production history. That is the sweet spot. And then, yeah, we will eventually do Black Adam just to
Yay.
talk about The Rock trying to tank the DC extended universe. And
The
surprisingly,
hierarchy of
his
power has
answer
changed
was
forever.
make The Rock the main thing.
It's mostly his attitude to wrestling as well. So see if it works out for him, I suppose. We'll have to find out by listening to the show.
Thank you.
Ollie, thanks so much for coming on to join us on the Thrillcast. Great talking to you.
Yeah,
And
thank you, Ali.
to everyone else watching, Splundig ver Frig.
Get 2000 AD now. Get.
Well, thanks for joining us on In Orbit every Wednesday, Earthlets. Make sure you like and subscribe and go along to 2000 AD, where you'll be able to subscribe to 2000 AD and the Judge Dredd magazine. Sign up to our newsletter and you'll get hundreds of pages of free comics to download. And download the app for your Apple and Android devices. Now, don't forget, Earthlets, this is the 2000 AD universe. We just live in it.